So as a part of practicing this, what I would highly suggest is the following as the assignment. So you're going to take each shape. We have and it's a lot of work, but you take the sphere, the cone, the cube, and the cylinder, and you're going to do at least 4 for each one. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. And what you're going to do is light them from different locations. So we already did one from the top left. Let's see what happens when we put the light in the bottom left, directly on top, and then maybe bottom right. And for this one, let's see what happens if the light is more in front, like it's kind of floating in front of the sphere.
Work.
So let's try that. Should be pretty quick and easy. The core shadow is going to be something like this. Now, of course, it depends on where that light source is in terms of depth, but right now I'm imagining it's just on the same plane as the sphere. So core shadow, something like that. And there's obviously different shading techniques that you can do. And I'm treating this one more like local value. I'm sorry, local light, like a point light. Let me get that core shadow in there. And you can do it in whatever style or shading style that you want, as long as it feels like the light is coming from this bottom left. I know many could say, well, that's not perfectly accurate. That's not the point. We're just trying to get the illusion to work for us. Now, same thing. Let's just go ahead and say that this light is above it, but closer to us. So as if it's the highlight hotspot area will be kind of right here. So the core shadow will kind of wrap around like this. Okay. Again, I'm not trying to be too smooth or very polished and rendered or accurate. It's just to get it to feel like it reads. So same thing. We'll make it like it's actually behind the sphere. We'll see how that works. Now, when there's a light source behind, let's see, how can we do that? Maybe we can apply it with the bounce light. So this whole side would be darker, and the core shadow, I don't know if this is a good example, but it'll be along here, and we'll get more of a rim light situation. Oh, come back. Okay, so we're gonna have to make this a little bit cleaner on this bottom left. Think of like a crescent moon. So the core shadow, it's gonna be something like this. Much tighter and cleaner. I'm just going to shade that whole shadow side. Cool. Basic rendering technique. So same thing with this. We have the light in front. So it's going to be really similar to that left one. That's our kind of core shadow shape. Doing my nice C curves here, back and forth, being kind of loose with it. Can kind of draw circles. That works too. There's no one right way to do everything. That's for sure. If there's anything I learned throughout my career, it's that there's many ways to do the same thing. Bring out that spot back because we lost the highlight value. And let's make that core shadow darker. It's going to be along here. Now what this exercise will do for you is it'll help your shading, so you get practice in shading. It'll help your understanding of form and depth in terms of objects with different shapes and form and volume and all that fun stuff. But also it will give you a sense on how light falls onto objects, so that you're not just shading your characters from the same direction every time. You can go in there and do a wireframe over your character and figure out just how the light is supposed to be hitting the shapes. Anyway, it's good enough for me. So that's 4 of them. If you really, really, really want to get good, I would do maybe 20 of them. Doesn't have to be too clean. Although if you like more careful, clean practice, then yeah, go for it by all means. I'm just too impatient for that. I like getting the idea across quickly. Right, so that was our sphere. I'm going to do the cube next. Again, we're doing 4 of them. I need to have a class on just perspective. All right, that's a really bad cube, but we'll go with it because it kind of looks nice. I mean, it's not an accurate cube, but it's kind of a wonky Pixar stretched shape. Anyway, so look, we went from like clean, controlled to that. Oh boy. All right. So for this, we could actually use the existing light here and cast it onto that. So let's do the shadow side first. Approximate value. And then quarter weight of black. And then that. And I mean, that's it. I think being able to nail value like that by looking for the contrast between each side is a really helpful and necessary, I think, very necessary skill to develop. So for this we have, let's actually make the light. Yeah, we'll make it top light. In this case, we will have a 1-2-2 read with top light, assuming it's directly above. And we're not done with this yet, by the way. We'll be coming back to it. For this, the light source is behind. So that's pretty much going to put everything in the same value because the light source is not hitting anything. But what we can do is say, well, let's pretend that's actually on Earth in an atmosphere in a regular lighting scenario. Like that's just maybe the sun. But you still have the sky. So we can say that since the sky is up here, we can make this the brightest. And we can imply that that's the brightest by making this darker. And this side as well. Unless there's a bevel here, there won't be a rim light because it's, there's nothing facing that. All right, so let's try this. So the light source is closer to us, meaning there's going to be a nice hot spot highlight here on that bevel. Let's just go ahead and make this the darkest, and this slightly lighter, and then the lightest. I think this should be darker. And we'll put a little bit of a gradient so it's darker in the back. Kind of isolate that highlight by bringing it in like this. All right, remember when I said we're not done with these? And the same thing that we did with this, we're going to do again with all of these. The cubes, because that's kind of annoying to do for the sphere. Actually, let's do it with one of the spheres. So let's pretend we have our friendly old ball here, and we take a pencil or a marker, and we're drawing a line across it, kind of like a billiards ball or something. So it won't be a direct line unless we're looking at it head on for the horizon line. But it will actually be a curved line. It'll be making an ellipse. So you can actually ghost over it with an ellipse like that and then trace that shape. You could also think of it like a Pokeball. All right, so I'm going to paint it with one value. And then try to figure out where I need to put the core shadow. About right there. And make sure it's dark enough so it feels like it's halfway to black. And this is very helpful if you're drawing organic forms like faces or arms, and you want to put a tattoo or markings or some kind of, tattoo that's going around a curve, to understand that there's going to be value relationships changing depending on the lighting. And I'm not going to do those. So the cubes, we're going to try one where we're slicing a corner like this. Going to paint it all one value. And then, of course, this side's got to be darker. So on and so forth. Okay. And the goal is to get it to feel like it has the illusion of three-dimensional form. For this one, let's go ahead and maybe just slice it this way. Okay, it's slightly darker. All right. For this one, let's try just a strip of dark value. It's tricky because it's not in a obvious lighting scenario. It's just kind of got ambient light. But once you complete that last side, it just kind of all comes together. And we'll just give this one a smiley face and call it done. So I would recommend taking each shape and doing at least 4 per shape. So you'll end up with 16 different ones, including hopefully that you followed along with the demo here. So it's kind of an introductory understanding for practicing these things, but it will certainly show up naturally in the rest of the things that you do. So let's go ahead and do it with cylinders. You can rotate your objects, of course. They don't all have to be in the same direction. And the reason I'm doing this on paper and not digitally is I think if you're able to do it without the shortcuts of digital, everything digital just becomes so much easier because you're putting in the time to figure out what feels right when you're pressing hard enough. And you get this direct, feedback by looking at it. And it's not bright light coming at you like it's a bright screen. It's just flat paper. So that's why I think this is really important to do traditionally. Oh, I forgot to say the light's coming from the top left there. And you'll get much faster at it as you do it. This one is in the front, top light. Okay, so it's going to roll around there. The highlight is going to be in this area. Core shadow is going to be over here. And a slight bounce light in the bottom area. So this will help your mind start to become familiar with calculating how light will react to different surfaces, shapes. So yeah, we got light in the back. So in this case, the form is turning around to the other side, so we will have a rim light like we have on the sphere. So let's just put the core shadow here and make it really sharp like that, and then fade out and get dark again. Okay, this is top right. This side will be in shadow. I'll tell you a nice, neat little trick that I like to do as well whenever I have an object like this. Now we've established that the highlight is here, and I like to try to find ways to bring contrast to it. So on all three of these shapes, the dark side's on the left, so I know it's going to be darker on the left. However, I'm going to make it the darkest where it's meeting the highlight, because it's going to create the most contrast. Whether or not that's accurate, it looks nice because it's bringing attention to it. If you kind of just smudge it and make it a little bit softer, it'll kind of feel like it has a nice effect, nice little illusion. Of course, we're not done. We're going to put some black paint on these. Sometimes when I'm doing this, I'll start with the core shadow, with the darker color. Or value. And maybe bring out that highlight a bit with the eraser. It feels real. It looks like it's three-dimensional. That's kind of what we're going for. Now let's draw a line like this. Make it a little bit more interesting, as if we're cutting it at an angle. As if we took this, we turned it slightly, and then sliced down, or something like that. And we'll paint this side. Beautiful. Let's actually go ahead and do that to the bottom part too. That's my favorite one. So here's something that might be tricky for some people. So when the object was just white, that rim light there is the brightest it could possibly be. However, man, I'm getting a phone call. Hello? Hey, yes. Okay, where were we? We painted this black or darker. It means that the highlight too should be darker as well. Some people might leave it like that as a stylistic choice, which is fine. But to make it kind of feel like it has the illusion of reality, I'm going to paint that in, even though it is the highlight. Because now it feels like it's doing that illusion that we're looking for. Okay, and we got our smiley face one. Cool. All right. And so I would say do that with all four. The cylinder and the cone are going to be very similar. Let's do it to this real quick. If we just put a line across the top there. I'm going to shade it like this. And fade off. Now we have the illusion of three-dimensional objects using mathematics to get the shadows to feel like they are working towards that illusion of reality. Okay, so I hope that lesson was pretty straightforward. By doing this, it'll give you the ability and understanding of basic light, basic shading on form. And if you can do lighting on these simple forms, the sphere, cube, the cylinder, and the cone, you could pretty much figure out the three-dimensional shapes on anything by putting these together and mixing them. They make up bigger shapes and more complex shapes, but understanding them at this level is absolutely necessary if you want to be more complex with it. All right, good luck on the shading.